you used to work with, like, crimes?
I was a crime reporter straight out of university.
You got to see a lot of blood and violence.
I did. That was for my sins.
Yeah.
The first reporting job, proper reporting job, so straight out of university, I was 21. I got a job at a newspaper in a town in Georgia in America called Savannah, which is a lovely tourist town. Beautiful, historic southern city, which unfortunately when I arrived was having the worst crime wave I'd ever had.
Oh.
And
Were you there on holiday?
No.
Oh,
I was hired for a very small amount of money to write about crime.
Okay.
And so thinking, it's a lovely tourist town, it'll be pickpockets, and instead it was murder and mayhem and violence and drug violence and gang violence and lots of young people's lives spinning horribly out of control in front of my eyes. It was a real welcome to the world, CJ, basically.
Yeah.
It's not like college. It's much more dangerous than that.
Yeah, that must have been a big thing. I've never seen crime, even though I've lived in London.
Yeah.
I haven't seen, things happening.
Yeah.
I guess it's where you go. I live in a very middle class place.
Yeah.
Nothing big ever happens there. People look up if they hear a police siren.
Yeah.
Is that ready? But, yeah.
Yeah, no, for me, because I had been, although my family was not wealthy, my mother had wisely chosen, always to live in the worst house in an expensive neighborhood, basically. So we lived in the only apartment complex in a very posh area of Houston when I was growing up, so I was quite protected in that way, despite the fact that we were broke all the time. And then I went to university on scholarship, so I was out in a country town in Texas in a big university, completely protected. And then, so my whole life was spent in that fashion. And then graduated with a journalism degree, went off to be a journalist, and the first thing they sent me to was a dead body dragged from a river. So, and tough, hardened police detectives who's seeing a 21-year-old dyed blonde, girl in white capri trousers tripping down the lane with her notepad and her pen and her perfectly painted nails were like, delicious, this is going to be fantastic, let's see if we can make her throw up. And that was the next year and a half of my life.
Must have a strong stomach now.
And pretty tough. It has residual knock-on effects in that I tell people never to ride motorcycles because I went to a lot of motorcycle accidents and they were always fatalities.
Yeah.
I can't stand for my friends to ride motorcycles. And I have really good locks. And a dog. A policeman told me on the first year I was working, don't get an alarm, get a dog.
Okay.
And you won't be broken into. And I have found that to be true. The one time I didn't have a dog, I was living in Walthamstow, I got burgled. Outrageous.
How about cats?
Not as helpful.
Have they not said
Mostly
I have two and I've never been broken into. Maybe.
Are they Siamese? They're supposed to be hardcore.
Cats.
They won't protect you.
I don't know.
They'll eat your fingers when you die.
They can just lie on the person and
purr.
Yeah,
Purr the
maybe do that.
Mine would show them.
I had goldfish.
She keeps her
as well.
jewelry here. You had goldfish.
Goldfish.
Guards.
Yeah, they were fantastic actually. Better than a dog. Get a goldfish. But yeah, I could never look after a dog. Does Ali have any pets? Can I allow pets in boarding schools?
No, she doesn't. I actually regretted that, reading a book recently in which...
You need a familiar. You need an animal companion.
Yeah, and Damon. Yeah, no, she doesn't. And a book, I'm co-writing simultaneously a book with a French author, and I have given my character a dog. I've learned my lesson.
That's good. Does this dog have any magic powers? Is it just standard dog?
It's just a dog. A fluffy
Sometimes you
dog.
just need a dog.
They're very entertaining.
Powers.
If you're writing a dull scene at home, you have to write the character's home. If you don't have a dog or a cat or some distraction, it's more difficult. If you need to lighten the mood in a scene, in a domestic scene, having a pet, I've learned by reading other people's books, awesome. Because it adds instant lightness. You can add comic moments. It breaks up the tension.
You can be depressed lying on your bed and then my cat will just jump on my face.
Exactly. It's just like that, only the literary equivalent. Yeah. It's amazing. So yeah, I'm never going to make that mistake again.
Good.
Animals.
Animals are the way forward.
Exactly.
How do you think is the best way for young writers to get their work out there? Is it the internet? Is it through social media now? How do you think young writers should start off?
I think the key is to write something you believe in. So if you've written, don't put everything out there. Put your best out there. Write something you love, and when you are ready, when you're happy with it, then it's different. I mean, the best way, there's two ways now, right? There used to be one way, now there's two ways. And it is choosing which one you feel suits you. So the internet way, which is an amazing opportunity that didn't exist when I first started writing, of just putting it online and charging a small fee for it, or putting it on, putting your first book out there for free and charging for your second. I mean, that works for so many people. That is one way. But there is something to be said for the traditional method, for having an agent, for having an editor to help you hone that first book. Because my book, my first book, which was pretty darn good as a complete piece, I changed the last third of it on the advice of my agent and my editor, so 150, 200 pages that I just threw away and rewrote because they felt the first 2/3 were strong and the last third didn't work. And they were so right. I mean, that changed the trajectory of my entire career. If I hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today. So, but their wisdom, I had a brilliant editor and a brilliant agent who really knew the business. They're young and incredibly talented, and they just had a great eye. So instead of just me flailing around and my friends going, "Oh, I like it," which is great. It was decent. It was good. But with their advice, it became better. So I think there's much to be said for going the traditional route as well and getting an agent, which is a straightforward process. If they don't like it, if you don't get one as your plan A, and you still have huge faith in your book because agents can be wrong, then you put it online and you prove them wrong.
Yeah, I think a lot of my friends are self-publishing now.
Yeah.
But I think it's great to have that more professional oversee, especially just to format it. If you're a good writer but you need help formatting and changing some bits around, swapping it, some more ideas, I think that input is really valuable.
There are things in writing that are so subtle that are super hard. Pace is very hard. And if you're writing popular fiction as opposed to literary fiction, so if you're not Martin Amis or Will Self, and you're writing for a broader audience, then your book has to move along. And that takes practice. And also, it often takes another eye to tell you, boy, chapter 16 is boring. You could just cut all of chapter 16 and nobody would miss it. And that input can be amazing. It can make all the difference. Cutting chapter 16 and say chapter 9, and suddenly your book just flies.
Yeah.
And then people tell you, I couldn't put it down. So, I mean, that, not having that input, the idea of me writing without them, I don't know if I'd want to do it, because that's such a wonderful thing to have.
Yeah. So, how do you think young people should get an agent? Is it just generally finishing off a manuscript to the best of your ability and then just putting it out there to different companies?
My advice is always patience. I've learned over the last few years, this is a slow-moving process. Art, you're not going to just finish it and you're done. It's slow. You have to go back to the beginning of that book and polish it again. Read it as if, set it down for 4 weeks, come back to it and read it again as if you'd never read it before, and look for the weaknesses in it and be critical of yourself, and then revise it based on what you see. So that can take another few weeks to revise it, and then get somebody you trust who won't lie to you, somebody who will be honest to you, to read it and do the same thing. When you've gone that far and all your feedback is positive and you feel confident about it, then, and only then, would I research agents and find one who represents people you like, writers you admire. And this is easy because writers always think their agents and their acknowledgements, it's all Googleable. Find your favorite 5 writers, see who their agents are. Check the agents out, see if they're accepting submissions, and start at that point. That's how I found mine. I found an agent who represented writers I thought were in my genre, who I thought were doing really well. And so I thought, and who many of them had started with her, so she had built them.
Okay.
So she wanted debut writers like me. She didn't want, there are some agents who won't even look at you if you're not already famous.
Yeah.
If you're on television and can't write a word, they'll sign you.
Yeah.
Or if you have 3 books out that did pretty darn well, they'll sign you. They want easy buys. But what you want is somebody who wants to build you, who will take you and shape you and direct you in the right place, find you the right editors, the right publishers. And that's my advice. So do that, do your research. First, marry your book, read it and read it and read it. You don't even have a life. You know this book and you love this book. And friends you trust. and then do really good research into the agent you send it to. And then if they turn you down and you still love it, just self-publish it and tell all your friends. Spread the word that way, because so many people are being discovered self-published now.
Yeah, yeah.